Hello and welcome to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer this evening, Logan Landers. And today we are going to be talking about the Alabama players that were selected in the 2021 NFL Draft. And joining me tonight is a man on the show who you guys know and love as the Alabama Fanatic, one of the best high school coaches, not just in the state of Georgia. We're not just going to keep it there. Across the U.S. of A., it's our guy, Kevin the Bull Jones. How you doing tonight, Coach Kev?
Hey, great to see you. I smell a little spring football in the air right now. We just completed our first day of practice, and Logan, it's a beautiful thing to finally just get out there with that pigskin and get some of this football in your blood.
No doubt. Well, hey, before we start to talk about a little bit of football, be sure if you guys enjoyed this video to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We appreciate it. Whether you're doing it on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, which has been blowing up. Thank you guys so much for checking out all the videos over there. Check out our Instagram. We have clips of each and every episode. And also go to our podcast, thanks to the Believe Podcast Network. We have our episodes coming out every single day, whether you like Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, whatever your podcast streaming platform is. We have something for you over there. So, Kev, we have 10 players that the Alabama Crimson Tide, who their name got called. And let's go ahead and get right into this one. So, man, they had a lot of good names, but the first one, some people were shocked by. We got Mr. Jaylen Waddle, wide receiver, round 1, pick 6, going to the Miami Dolphins. What are your thoughts on Mr. Waddle hanging out with Tua Tagovailoa now down there in South Beach?
Well, Logan, it definitely helps them offensively. Last year, Tua only averaged 6.6 yards per pass completion. Preston Williams, one of my former players, a player at Lovejoy High School, had a chance to work with, and just a great kid. Had 4 touchdowns before he went down with a season-ending injury. So you have a person that comes in and he checks the box and he fits. He's a missing piece to the puzzle. He's going to be a sensational player down there. Got Will Fuller down there, who came from the Texans, if I'm not mistaken. You also got the man, Devonta Parker, leading receiver for them last year. So you're talking about 4 receivers. If Preston gets healthy, 4 receivers. Listen, it's hard enough covering 2 to 3. But you're going to have 4 now. Plus, you have a sensational kid that can come back and take care of the punt return game, which you and I both know he's a master at, as well as the kickoff return. And people dare not kick the ball to him. So I'm excited because his true grit. Listen, hats off to Holman Wiggins, who coached these guys, and he's still there on staff. Logan, he's done a sensational job of managing and coaching, and I use both words because they're differently, but dealing with personalities and the ability to achieve a common goal. Those kids were tough as nails. Whatever you put in front of them, no, they're not 6'3", they're not 6'4", they're not 6'5". So you hear about all those type of players, but these guys, in their diminutive stature, were able to have gigantic numbers for Bama Nation.
Yeah, and honestly, man, Jaylen Waddle, probably one of the better dressed gentlemen at this NFL draft. You can see with our picture here, man. He's got the hat, the shades on indoors, the nice suit. Whew, if that doesn't scream South Florida, I don't know what does. So he's going to have a great time there in Miami, and I think that it's going to be electric for a lot of years as long as he can be on the field. And him and Tua, watch out, man, watch out. That combo is coming back, and it's going to be lethal, I think, in the NFL. Let's keep moving on here.
It's going to be interesting. Logan, think about this, Logan. Just think about how, you got a player that can be inside or outside. Okay, So now you got to pick your poise, and then you got Fuller, and then you have Devonta Parker. I mean, don't you think that might help Tua quite a bit this fall? I mean, I think it really helps his comfort zone. So I agree with you. But I didn't expect anything less from Roll Tide Nation.
Hey, I don't blame you, man. Well, let's keep moving on things here, Coach Kev. We go into the defensive side of the ball now, something that you are an expert in. We're talking about Patrick Surtain II, the cornerback, pick 9, round 1, headed over to the Denver Broncos. Now, a lot of people were a little bit surprised by this selection by the Broncos. Some people thought they might be getting Justin Fields, who was still on the board. But what were your thoughts on the Broncos picking up Patrick Surtain II?
Well, I know that everybody wants to say that everybody had their pick of who the top man coverage cornerback in the draft was. But here's my thing: when you play against the best players, and yes, sometimes they get you, and sometimes you're going to get them. But his unwavering effort to be the best player in the secondary. There are a lot of times there's some coverages that Bama used to disguise things, but on his side of the ball, he was always in a man concept or off man or take concept, but he was such a better player than everybody else and an efficient tackler. I, for one, me being in Atlanta, I wanted to see him go to the Falcons. I just thought that he would be a great piece to fit on one side of the secondary, the defense, for because Falcons already have AJ Terrell, and in my mind, the fan in me thought that, but the coach in me knew that there are things that John Elway is getting done up there in Denver that he is putting together a championship pedigree of some work. I think that with Surtain being able to having the lineage with his father playing in the secondary, I mean, who else could be a better person to help you in those baby steps on learning how to play the position? So he's going to get teamed with Kareem Jackson, Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, and those specialty packages, they were in those 70% of the time. So you're already talking about specialty packages calling for your 4-2-5 stuff with the nickel. And then you have your dime coverage scenarios. And the greatest part about him playing cornerback at University of Alabama is he was taught how to be able to cover the slot guy or the outside receiver. And everybody can't do that in the NFL. So hats off to the Denver Broncos. I wanted to see him go to the Falcons, but if the Falcons went with a defensive player, I just thought that he was the best secondary guy in the NFL draft.
Right, and like you said, he's got that amazing legacy with his father being in the league for a long time, having a good career across multiple teams, and now he gets to carry on that legacy now with the Denver Broncos. And I mean, I know people were saying that the Broncos, they don't really have a star quarterback coming into this year, but let's face it, Kev, that defense is looking pretty good. We've seen teams time and time again have let's just say a middle of the road type of offense. Nothing that's going to blow you out the water. Now, the Broncos do have Jerry Jeudy, who, of course, is lightning quick. Yeah. But that defense that they're building over there in Denver, it might be a surprise for a lot of fans coming into this season about how good that this Denver team might be. I know they had the 9th pick, but, man, they might be, middle of the road to – hey, they might have a good playoff run even. Who knows? We just have to see how these young guys can mesh and how they can play on the field together.
Also playing with Isaiah Simmons back there in that secondary. Yes, let's not forget about him. So, of course, with a Bama player in the secondary, I'm prejudiced to it. That's just the way I mean. That's the way I feel. And, and when it's all said and done, 6 guys went in the draft. And, Logan, I called it.
it. You did?
6. I said 6. Folks, you all go back and watch some of the previous shows. And I said that we would surpass what the previous what LSU did last year. So LSU had 5, and I called it. And Patrick Surtain was one of those guys that I thought would go in the first round in the draft pick. So hats off to him, and he's going to have a sensational career with Denver Broncos.
Yes, sir. Well, let's go back over to the offensive side of the ball. This time we're talking about the Heisman winner, the wide receiver, Devonta Smith. Round 1, pick 10, going to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, there was a lot of speculation that, there's a lot of talk that the Jaylen Waddle pick for the Dolphins should have been to Devonta Smith. It's like, man, they passed up on the Heisman winner for Waddle, who was injured. So what's your thoughts on Devonta Smith sliding in with the Philadelphia Eagles and how you think he's going to perform in that offensive system?
Well, I think he's the second coming of John Taylor, who played for the San Francisco 49ers. Sleek, smooth, fluid, hard to tackle, tough as nails, not afraid to go over the middle, can run any route needed. He does have football speed. Everybody wondering how fast he really is. Well, he had almost 2,000 yards in receptions to prove that nobody caught him from behind. I think he's the quintessential receiver because the aptitude of his football IQ. and his ability to discipline and smoothly get in and out of routes, I think is going to be sensational for him. I think that when he teams up with Zach Ertz and teams up with, once again, a Bama teammate, they all over the place. They over my shoulder right now, but they
Yes,
all
sir.
over, the Roll Tide Nation, another former Alabama football player, a great one, coached under Coach Saban. You got, once again, we're saying it again, a quarterback in the NFL from University of Alabama that is comfortable being able to throw to his own receiver, and that means a lot. Last year, the offense was ranked 26th total offense in the NFL last year. So I think they got the right boost. They only averaged just under 200, a little over 200 yards a game total offense. So that tells you that they had to find a missing piece to the puzzle for what they're going to take care of this fall.
Yeah, I think this was a great selection by the Eagles. Of course, Jalen Hurts is going to be their man going forward. We'll see how he does in his first full season under center for the Eagles. They need to see if their draft picks from last year, if Jalen Reagor, who didn't have the best year, if he can produce, if he can come and be that 1 or 2 punch alongside Devonta Smith. And you mentioned Zach Ertz, who is one of I think kind of an underrated tight end.
Yes.
Everyone talks about the Travis Kelce's, the George Kittles, but Zach Ertz is one of the more consistent tight ends in terms of the passing game as well as blocking in the NFL, I think. So if the Eagles can, if they can get that offensive firepower as well as, address their defensive woes, I think that this Eagles team, they won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. I don't think they're there quite yet, but this team, man, they could surprise some people though with their just amount of young talent as well as their veterans. It's a good match. I like it though, and I think that Devonta Smith is going to have a nice career for the Eagles.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
All right, let's keep things rolling on, Kev. We're going to go to the quarterback now, who was under your Alabama Crimson Tide. We're going to go with Mac Jones, round 1, pick 15. Now, when I was watching the draft, I was a little shocked to see that the Patriots didn't even have to trade up. It fell right into their lap, and they got, their future quarterback. We'll see how he does with Cam Newton under center. They re-signed him to a 1-year deal. They might have Mac sit for a season and learn the playbook under Bill Belichick, and then it's his for the taking. What's your thoughts on Mac Jones going to New England?
Listen, who the master in drafting and being able to listen, this connection, Coach Belichick, Coach Saban. I mean, I'm just going to keep it real. And all of my Bama Nation, they already know. Do you know how much these men talk to each other about these players? Do you know how much Bill Belichick literally talks to Coach Saban about players? Dante Hightower, all these other players that are from Alabama that are on this team. There is a total mindset. This is the perfect situation for Mac Jones. All of that jockeying for position about the draft, that was just, and I said this in one of my shows, Logan, that it was just jockeying. Somebody was throwing salt on some players, some other quarterbacks, and you know what I'm talking about, because there is a chess match going on for somebody. You want to, general managers, leak some crazy story out or reporter, but what happens is people start to fall in the draft. But the reality is, Logan, that there were people that were ahead of Mac Jones for a reason, okay? And he fell into the perfect scenario. Cam Newton, another year under Josh McDaniels, learning the system, being healthy. It's going to help him to have a great season. I predict that for him next year. However, as Vincent Turner would say, hey, listen, at the end of the day, you got another quarterback that he fits their scheme. He's his mental approach to the game and his ability to make the correct decisions is truly off the charts. And everybody in the NFL knows it. Not everybody wants to say it, but I'm with you. He gets a chance to watch. And guess what? Getting a chance to watch is not bad because now he gets to say, I don't have to take all the shots. And hopefully Cam Newton has a great year because maybe he better markets himself. And if he has to sit more than 1 year, so be it. You with the Patriots, baby. Okay. And with that being said, it's going to happen. It's going to be a great situation for him.
Yeah, you definitely have to trust that system out there in New England. How could you not? How could you not? Hopefully Cam Newton has a good bounce back year. Last year was a little bit shaky for him with injuries, with COVID, and just not the best play on the field. He re-signed for that 1-year deal. That I think that's more of a trial run. We'll see how he does. But you got to believe that the keys to the Corvette are going to be handed over to Mac Jones once this contract expires. Unless Cam Newton has an out-of-this-world type of season, you got to think he's right up for that New England system. And I know the fans are already loving this man. They already want to see him on the field chomping at the bits. So just got to be patient now. Just got to be patient and wait in due time, and he'll do some great things for the Patriots, I think.
Well, here's the thing, Logan. One thing that the Patriots do, but here's the thing. They had 10-plus starters that sat out last season.
Right.
Okay. And then, the quarterback situation. Okay. So, when it's all said and done, the reality of it is you didn't see the Patriots, the true Patriot program, the Patriot way. You saw a skeleton of it because of those guys that did not play. Okay, so now Belichick has been able. He did a fantastic job in the offseason with free agency, and now he's plucked to some places that he's going to be able to make a difference. And Cam Newton is a very good quarterback, and he does now get a chance to know the whole system. So with that being said, that should be able to make him a better quarterback, make himself better marketable. But I don't know if Mac Jones is ready to play yet. There's going to be some time. It won't be a lot. I agree with you. When Mac Jones finally gets in, he's going to be able to throw darts at defenses the way he did on the collegiate level.
Right. Yeah, I think he's going to have a solid career once he gets his time, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does out there in New England. Well, Kev, you can't have a good quarterback without having an even better offensive line, and that's what the Las Vegas Raiders did by selecting Alex Leatherwood with the 17th overall selection. Now, a lot of people thought this was a little bit of a reach, and we know the Raiders have done that a lot in draft history. There was a few other really good offensive tackles on the board, but the Raiders decided to go down to Alabama and pick up Alex Leatherwood. What were your thoughts on this pick, and how do you think he's going to fare with the Raiders out there in Las Vegas?
Listen. Once again, I don't know what the Raiders are waiting on. They need to go ahead and put me on their staff because I called this. You go back to one of my shows. He was one of the 6 players that I said would go in the first round, and I said it would be the Raiders. I said this for a reason. There was a host of injuries that happened. Trent Brown went down. Richie Incognito went down. Their offensive ranking was 24th in the league. He's going to come in and be the right tackle, but the only thing you can say bad about him is that in the Senior Bowl, he did not do well. He didn't perform well in the Senior Bowl. If that's the only knock you can really have on him, then guess what? You got a heck of a ball player. But he was the starting left tackle. He played right tackle. He played everywhere but center on that offensive line for University of Alabama. He, to me, was a first-round grade, a first-round draft pick, tall, athletic. He has a great football IQ. See, that's what you're going to get from Coach Saban. You're going to get kids that know the game. Okay, and they got a little toughness to it. You're correct. He didn't do well in the Senior Bowl. Other kids that were trying to make a name for themselves outshined him. And I guess, coming off a national championship, he should have known better to do better, but he didn't. But guess what? Coach Gruden knew the same thing I knew. I don't know if he was listening to me when I said it, but that's my story. I'm going to keep it.
Hey, there you go. But I think that, yes, the Raiders have picked a lot of, we'll say, questionable selections in the past with reaching just if they get receivers based on speed or some even, selecting a Hall of Fame punter, Hall of Fame kicker in the first few rounds before. That's just how they do things out there. It's really unconventional, but I think that this was, when you look back at it and you really just kind of do a deep dive, this was a solid pickup. They needed help on their offensive line a lot because they, like you said, injuries, and they got rid of a lot of guys who were really helping Derek Carr and Josh Jacobs. They had to replace those guys.
Oh, did you say Josh Jacobs? Did you say Josh Jacobs? Okay,
yes,
that sounds like Roll Tide again. I'm sorry. My ears went up.
But, yeah, I thought that they would either go with an offensive lineman, or they do need some help on the defense as well. So I think that this was a good selection. I think he's really going to help out. Alongside Colton Miller, who they selected a few years ago, who's starting to develop into a solid offensive lineman. I think that those two could potentially have a good career for the Raiders for a long time. And it's going to be interesting to see how Mr. Leatherwood does in the black and silver. He's going to look good in it, though. I tell you that much. He's going to look good.
Wait, man. I can't wait.
Yes, sir. All right, let's keep things moving, Kev. We're going with Najee Harris, the running back, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think a lot of people called this one. The Steelers didn't have a running back. James Conner left. He went to the Arizona Cardinals. The Steelers really needed a running back, and Najee Harris was there, so they selected him with the 24th overall pick. What's your thoughts on him?
Well, they did have a running back there. It was Benny Snell, but Benny Snell, of course, was behind the Conner player. And, you know, the balance in the team with Big Ben, he needed somebody to tote that ball, but more importantly, be a complete back, stay on the field. The coaching side of me, now I want to talk about it. When a back stays on the field and you don't have to bring another back in for passing situations, that's tough. That's tough on coordinators because now you gotta have matchup games for people such as Najee Harris. And he's always been a fan favorite of mine. Got a chance to talk to him, got a chance to talk to Brad Lester, who trained him or helped him out somewhere, you know, along the way. Hats off to Coach Charles Huff, who's now head coach at Marshall University, that had the pleasure of coaching him at Alabama. But here's the thing with the Steelers. They had a porous, terrible rushing game. They only averaged 3.6 a game. And they were offensively, they ranked 25th in the league. And that was just tough for them. They lost 3 starters off that offensive line. You know, some people thought that they should have gone with the offensive lineman. But here's what you're dealing with. You have to get that I call him a once-in-a-generation player only because, and I know I'm giving him lofty goals, but when you're that big, 6'2", 230 pounds, and has anybody thought to mention how durable he is? Right. He's a durable back, okay? You know, he takes shots, he delivers shots, he outruns people, he jumps over people. And once again, you talk about another high IQ kid. His ability to catch that ball out of the backfield is synonymous with somebody that was there at the Steelers before, not as big. You know that guy because he didn't stay there long, Le'Veon Bell. But here's the thing that you get with a Nick Saban running back, okay, and especially one that was part of the most prolific offense in the collegiate football. Najee Harris has an aura about him to want to be successful, and he has a light that will shine. And Big Ben is going to love him. He's going to stay on the field. Juju Smith is going to be out there with him. It's going to be sensational to watch him because he's his own one-man show, Logan. Yep. He's hard to stop, hard to catch, hard to tackle. And now you got to deal with him blocking, running, or catching, whichever one that happens.
Yeah, I think this is really going to help out Ben Roethlisberger as well. Because let's face it, he's getting up there in age. His arm isn't what it used to be. He's not throwing cannons left and right anymore. He's had a lot of surgeries on that throwing arm, and it's starting to catch up to him a little bit. We saw that last season. So, and like you said, with Mr. Conner, who was hurt or who didn't have the best production, it really hindered that Pittsburgh Steelers offense. And we saw that when they were getting later on in the stretch, getting near the playoffs. So I think that by picking up Najee Harris, who is, like you said, a very durable back, who's done a lot of great things for Alabama, I think this is really going to help out that Steelers offense. While, yes, like you said, they did need to address the offensive line as well. I think that if you can get a dominant back who can find, really small holes and shift his way through, hey, I think Najee Harris can do all that and then some. Like you said, he's versatile, he's durable, and he's electrifying. I think all the Steelers fans are going to love this pick, and hopefully he's got some great things for the Steelers for years to come.
Absolutely. He was in my top 20 as well. Just, in my top 25 as well. If you go back and watch, I tell you, I had this, I know Mel Kiper does his thing, but he better watch out for Bull Jones. I might not be a high school coach for long. I might get that call.
Hey, you're coming up hot on him. I'll tell you what, though, you made a few better selections. I'll say that much in those mock drafts. Now I'll say that much, Kevin. I'll say that much. All right, well, let's move into the second round now. And with the 37th overall pick in the second round, Landon Dickerson, the center, is headed to the Philadelphia Eagles. So what's your thoughts on Mr. Dickerson getting picked early in the second round, and how you think this is going to help out Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith also?
Well, he's going to team up with Jason Kelce, okay? Yes, going to replace Brandon Brooks. and he can play center or guard, either one. And actually, to me, this is the coaching part of me coming out, I like him better at guard. And let me tell you why I like him better at guard. It's because in protecting the injury part of what he's been a part of in the previous collegiate years and the injuries, you put him at guard, he stands a better chance, especially on pass protection and run blocking. He has a better area to work with, and the ability to climb to the next level and help double team. Him double teaming a zero technique, a one technique, and then climbing to the linebacker. I think that helps him. If you put him at center against some of those guys in the NFL, those guys are extremely athletic and they're girthy. The girthy part is not what concerns me. The part that concerns me is the athleticism. So if you put him at guard, he has a better ability to see and help other people on their blocks. So he doesn't have to do it as long by himself, which means he can probably prolong his career, and he's going to have a sensational career because he's going to be blocking for one of his former teammates. Once again, here we go, Jalen Hurts. It's going to be fantastic. I think that he is the key to sparking and that personality and character. Once again, my Bama Nation, y'all know that's going to come out my mouth because it comes out of Coach Saban's mouth. The accountability to be the best. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and I mean, for an Eagles team who has had their offensive line struggles, we saw Carson Wentz get sacked 40 to 50 times, for multiple seasons now, the poor guy. This is a really desperate need that the Eagles needed to fill. And I think by, like you said, picking up Dickerson, who can play either at center or at guard on that line, that's what they needed, someone who's versatile and who has a good track record. Like I said, he has a little bit of injuries, but that's all good. But as long as he can stay on the field for the Eagles, I think he's going to help out Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts is going to love him just by protecting him each and every down. So that's going to be a tremendous pickup by the Eagles, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't wait to see that game. I'm going to have all my gear on. It won't be full.
I know you will.
It's going to be Roll Tide.
You might even go with the face paint, maybe.
There you go.
There you go. All right. We'll keep things going on here. And right next to him, pick 38, the next selection, the New England Patriots, a familiar name, are going to go with Christian Barmore, the defensive tackle. Whenever I was watching the draft, I'm surprised to see him slip a little bit. Like you said, early second-round pick, but there were some people saying he could go in the first. Were you surprised to see him drop to the second, or do you think he fit in early with a solid early second-round pick?
Well, here's what I did figure out. There were a lot of offensive tackles. There was a mad rush from those in the first round, and that threw me off because I thought that Christian Barmore was a sensational. He should have been. He is the first defensive tackle to come off the board from the collegiate ranks. But the fact that there was some other offensive tackles when all the pretty boy receivers were gone and the quarterbacks were gone, everybody had a mad rush on the offensive tackles, which it makes sense because you need to grab one as quick as possible. There were so many of them. So that kind of kept him bumping down to a lower level. He's still a fascinating. He's what I call a push lineman. He's going to push the pocket. So don't be surprised if you see him line up in that odd front for, once again, the Patriots and line up to another guy from University of Alabama, Deonte Hightower. He's going to line up with Byron Cowart and Lawrence Guy, and he's going to do great jobs for them because his push, he's not an edge guy, but he's a pocket pusher. And those are the things that make those quarterbacks uncomfortable. So although his grade was first round, I do understand what happened. It dropped a little bit, and but he went to a great team.
Yeah, you can't ask to go to a better program than New England Patriots. Let's just be real here. So I think that Barmore is going to fit right in at home under Coach Belichick, under that defense, which is going to be stronger than ever because, like you mentioned earlier, they had a lot of guys who didn't play last season, whether it was due to injury, due to COVID, opting out. But now they're coming back at full strength. And with their new draft picks, too, watch out for New England now. Last year was a bit of a fluke year,
Yes.
I think, but they're getting back to their dominance, I think, this year. I think they're going to get maybe double-digit wins, maybe a few more. We'll have to see, but it's going to be interesting out there in New England, and I think that overall Christian Barmore is going to wreak havoc on some opposing quarterbacks this upcoming season.
Correct. I agree with you. I agree. Great
All
season.
right, so yes, sir. All right, Kev, they skipped a few rounds here. A few band players didn't get selected, but then round 6, they picked up Deonte Brown, the guard, going to the Carolina Panthers, going to help protect Sam Darnold now. What's your thoughts on this big man going to Carolina now?
Well, he's walking into an offense that was ranked 21st in the NFL last year. He's going to be in the Joe Brady offensive system. He's going to have John Milner and Chris Reed right there, so he's going to have to wrestle with them to get some playing time. But this is what I want you to know, Deonte Brown, and this is Coach Jones talking. I think that you will be the best offensive lineman on that team once you get some of that weight off, because you are sensational with your weight. But I'm talking about longevity. I'm talking about the long plays. I'm talking about a long season. Okay, so Deonte, help yourself be the best player that you can be. Okay, because there's no doubt about your athleticism, your strength, your burst, and your quickness. You still pulled sometimes. I heard some scouts say, well, he shouldn't pull. Questions about his pulling. Listen, this guy doing analysis of him, he didn't know Deonte Brown that I've seen down at that camp. You can move, okay, but your longevity and playing in a game is everything. So make it be what you want it to be. That is Coach Jones talking to you, Deonte. Drop 20 pounds and get that weight off so you can play a long time and you can take somebody's spot and you can create your own destiny. Nate Newton played at your size, maybe even a little bigger, to be honest with you. But we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys back in the day. So you create your path, Deonte Brown. That's Coach Jones talking to you. I think you're going to be an outstanding player for them.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kev. If this man can lose just a little bit of weight, I think he could go to the next level. Because like you said, the agility for a guy his size is there. The power is there. If he just can lose a little bit of weight, that could be his ticket to getting into, cracking a starting rotation and getting some more reps on the field. So hopefully, once he gets into the NFL where they have nutritionists, the best trainers in the world, hopefully he'll see, hey, sometimes this grilled chicken is a little bit better and might get a little bit of side of broccoli. So that, hey, once he gets into that, man, loses a couple of weights, hits the gym really hard, I think he could be really a sleeper pick, honestly, because to get him in the 6th round is a good pickup by the Panthers. And I think that, like I said, if he can lose a little bit of weight, he could be a really solid player for them for years to come.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see him play.
All right. So we're going to the last player selected in this NFL draft for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And the Carolina Panthers wanted to dip their toes back into that Alabama swimming pool. And they were with a long snapper, Thomas Fletcher, round 6, pick 222. What's your thoughts on Mr. Fletcher getting selected here?
Let me tell you something. I would tell you something. Coach Saban, he doesn't miss a thing on that practice field. And I'm sure Thomas has some great stories about Coach Saban talking about any and everything that happens on that field. But sports fans, you're talking about a guy who's replacing a 13-year veteran long snapper, J.J. Jansen. The average length of time for a long snapper in the NFL is right at just under 6 years. So this young man is getting an opportunity. Okay, he didn't even think it was a real call. Okay, so to be blessed with this opportunity is just amazing. It is a great story. They're probably gonna make a TV show about it. And once again, sports fans, y'all heard me say it first. So you need to tell the production companies they need to see Coach Jones. I need to be in the movie because this young man, he is a workaholic, but efficiency to do that job. Because remember, you got to cover when after you snap the ball, you still got to cover. So you have to be athletic. Okay, so those days of knowing when you look at practice and you say, oh, you can tell by the way that kid is built that he's kicker, a long snapper, the punter, not at University of Alabama, buddy. They all look good. Congratulations, Thomas. Thomas, congratulations. Because I remember those days down there on the other end of the field. Hey, listen, you are blessed and you took a veteran spot. So that kind of tells you how much they thought about you.
Yeah, I mean that is a great selection by the Panthers to to really get this young kid who honestly probably think that he was just going to go undrafted and might have to sign on with somebody, but for him to get picked in the 6th round by the Panthers, that's a dream come true for him, man. And hopefully he plays for a long time in the National Football League and he does the best of his ability. So, Coach Jones, before we get out of here, I want to ask for your final thoughts on this draft class, and also, did you think that any of the undrafted Alabama players, did you think that what are some of the guys that you thought should have been drafted but ended up going undrafted for the Alabama Crimson Tide?
Well, I know that Dylan Moses probably thought, pre-injury Dylan Moses is probably a first-round draft pick. But when you have the injury that he sustained, the severity of it, there's the psychological parts of getting over it, then there's the physical part. And then you have to play all SEC games. And maybe he did not shine that much compared to people like Micah Parsons, who's 250 pounds, running a 4.3, 4.4, just unbelievable numbers. But Dylan Moses is a true warrior, and he's going to be fine being in the right system on the next level. I think that's important for him. The ironic part about it is Alabama has a really young team, and they played a lot of young people. But if you want to talk about a person that probably stood out, it was Dylan Moses. But listen, think about this, Logan. Coach Saban, in the years he's been at University of Alabama, he's had 33 first-round draft picks. He's had 23 losses in 15 years. I'm going to say that again. 33 first-round draft picks. And he had 23 losses total since 1936. 375 Alabama football players have been drafted. Just imagine that. What does that tell you? That tells you that it's truly the excellence. I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you what it really is.
You got facts.
Those that love it, and now they got transfers coming in. Jamison Williams from Ohio State, the Ohio State, as those sports fans say, and then here Henry Toto. Now, if I said that properly, I hope I did. You're talking about a first-team American coming to University of Alabama. Well, they got to find a place for him. He's not going to sit the bench. So when you talk about, yes, here's what I will say. When you have injuries and you're trying to come back, it's a tough deal. It's almost as if, you've already got some things stacked against you. But guess what, Logan? That's what makes this so fascinating, and that's what we get a chance to talk about. And I truly believe, if I'm bragging, I'm bragging. But if I'm telling the truth, I'm telling the truth. Okay,
yes, sir.
It is a line of excellence in a thought process. The mindset is different. That's why University of Alabama is going to be right back where they left off at. And now the defense is unbelievable now, and it's giving me goosebumps thinking what's going to happen, because now you got 3 starters coming back in the secondary, and you still got Will Anderson out there. I'm gonna leave it at that.
I'm about to say, once we do our team preview of Alabama in a little while, once the college season gets a little closer, Coach Kev, we're going to put a limit on you now for about an hour and a half. We might have to cap you there, because I know you could go on all day about these young men. No doubt about that.
I love it. I think it's listen, and there are other great programs, okay, in college football. But this one just happens to walk a different path, and everybody, you got to have a Batman and a Robin. You got to have a Joker, unless Batman and Robin have nobody to deal with. And that's the cool parts of what goes on. So I'm just a high school coach that enjoys watching the great parts of doing things the right way, and not say the other coaches don't, but to get kids of that caliber to all think the same way, that's magnificent. Everybody doesn't do it.
It's something special, and Who knows? Hey, it's been going on for a long time, and it's just going to keep on continuing once Coach Saban leaves, and then on and then forth. It's just going to keep going on there for the Crimson Tide. There's no doubt about that.
No roll, doubt. Tide, roll.
There you go. Well, hey, if you guys have enjoyed this video here tonight, first off, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Whether you're watching us live on our Facebook channel, over on YouTube, or watching us on Twitch, we surely appreciate all your likes and comments. Don't be scared to share the video as well to any of your Facebook groups. Share it to your friends and family. Let them know all we're doing over here. Also, go check out our podcast, brought to you by the Believe Podcast Network. Just type in 100 yards of football. You'll see our logo on the 50-yard line over on Spotify. And if you want to check us out on Apple Podcasts, well, you're in luck because we are over there as well. Also, we're on any of the major streaming platforms, iHeartRadio, iTunes. You can even do it on your Google Home, your Alexa. Even they already know what the show is doing over here, Kev. They know what we're doing over here. And we have episodes of our podcast coming out every single day. So there's always something for you guys to listen to on your way to work, doing a workout, or just even cooking some dinner maybe. We always got something for you over there. Well, hey, for the esteemed Alabama fanatic, Coach Kevin the Bull Jones, thank you so much for coming on the show, Kev, and talking some Alabama with me. I've been your producer tonight, Logan Landers. You guys be safe and have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.